What's going on, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, follow me on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, at BoxingWave10. Huge fight this weekend, actually with my personal favorite active boxer, Terence Crawford, against another fighter that I have a lot of respect for, a ton of respect for, Kell Brook. He's going to be fighting this Saturday on ESPN, Top Rank. All right, 10 p.m. Eastern is the main card that is going to be on regular ESPN. And ESPN Plus, you can watch the preliminary fights at 7 p.m. Eastern, okay, on ESPN Plus. All right, so at 10 p.m., regular ESPN, 7 p.m. earlier, prelims, you're gonna need the app. You're gonna need the subscription for ESPN Plus to watch the pre-fights. All right. Now, as far as me doing live commentary, I'm not sure yet. I'm trying to work that out for now so I can be available to cover the fight. But I will let you guys know. You guys will receive the notification on whether or not I will be covering the fight. So make sure, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe in order to get that notification. All right. Now, we have a lot to cover. I haven't done any videos in the past few days. I wanted to speak more as to, about this fight because this is the fight week, the whole week, and I just haven't really been available to do much videos the last few days. But I have a lot to cover. I didn't want to cover everything in this one video, but we have a lot to cover here in this fight. First of all, Kell Brook. Let's start out with him. He's actually doing a great job hyping up this fight. He's doing a great job because he looks motivated. I haven't seen him this motivated since he fought Errol Spence Jr. a few years back. Okay, that was his last fight at welterweight. We all know that he was stopped by stopped by Spence late in that fight. But he looks extremely motivated. He looks to be in great shape. All right, he looks to probably make the weight. Hopefully he can make the weight. But regardless, he looks in great shape. All right, I've been watching him on his social media, his training videos. He looks ready. I don't know how far past it he is. A lot of people believe that he's past it. He's past his best days. Having those 2 stoppages, moving up to 154, not having a real challenge moving up and not having a really stellar performance against any notable names since moving up. People have kind of written Kell Brook off. I remember watching his fight against Michael Zarafa and not really being impressed with that performance that night. Okay, I believe his coach, Dominic Ingle, wasn't with him in his corner that night as well. But I could be wrong. Don't quote me. But I know a lot of people are questioning how prepared he's going to be for this fight without his coach behind him. Okay. And I think once people saw that, I think a lot of fans just kind of like, Bud is just going to stop him. But he looks to be in great shape, and I'm sold. I'm sold. In fact, I'm actually worried about Bud this Saturday because at one point I rated Brook extremely high as far as a welterweight. And I'm talking about the moment he beat Sean Porter. It was really good, clean boxing in that fight, like very clean. And I think he beat Porter a lot better than Keith Thurman did, than Errol Spence did. I remember at the end of both of those fights, it was very controversial. A lot of people thought, when Keith Thurman beat Sean Porter, a lot of people thought that Keith lost that fight. Or some people thought it should have been a draw. Same thing with Errol Spence. I covered that fight last year. All right, not knowing if I did live commentary. Maybe I didn't do live commentary, but I know I did a post-fight review here in this house. I was with my dad and some family here. And me and my dad on camera were going back and forth. He believed Sean Porter won the fight. I thought Errol took the fight, secured the win. especially with the knockdown. All right. But regardless, Kell Brook, I rated very highly. You know, Keith Thurman, who at the time was one of my favorite boxers. He was definitely my favorite newer welterweight. Kell Brook was the one guy out of the new guys that I thought would beat Keith Thurman. You know, this is before Keith fought Danny and Sean. You know, but at that time, I rated Kell Brook extremely high. And when Kell Brook was facing Errol, I didn't think Errol was ready for Brook. Especially going out there in the UK, I didn't think Errol was ready. I thought it was too soon for Errol Spence. Even though Brook was dominated by Triple G at 160, I still gave Kell Brook the chance and the shot to win that fight. He was denied. I was wrong, obviously. That was my pick. But that's how high I rate Kell Brook. And I still rate him high. Now, the questions we have. What is Kell Brook going to be like coming back down to 147? This is his first fight back down. How is this going to affect him? You know? Also, there is one positive thing about this. He is not fighting under the IBF same, you know, day weigh-in rules where he has to come in only 10 pounds heavier, 10-pound limit than the following morning. This is the first time. Remember, he was fighting for the IBF for a while, but he didn't have to. He didn't have to do it. He didn't have to do it. He doesn't have to do it this Saturday. So even if he makes weight or struggles to make weight, he still can rehydrate himself right away after he gets off the scales. You know, so he could come in as heavy as he chooses to be, which is an advantage for him. You know, especially because of the fact that he's always been a bigger welterweight. He's a bigger welterweight. Bud, on the other hand, moved up to welterweight from 135, right? So before we even get to the breakdown, we have to consider all of these things. Now, I'm going to be honest. Same thing as Spence. If Terence Crawford was moving up to the welterweight division, hypothetically, all right? Let's look at the same scenario. If this was the same scenario where Crawford dominated the junior welterweight division, moves up, goes to 147. It's his first fight against Kell Brook, who is undefeated, or maybe not undefeated, but he's a champion at 147. But this is Bud's first test. If that was the scenario, similar to when Spence was, you know, fighting him, I probably would have picked Kell Brook to win against Crawford. Just because that caliber of a welterweight at that time, for Bud to fight him on his first welterweight fight, I wouldn't be sure if Crawford would win that fight. All right? I would have probably gave it to Kell Brook. So regardless of my pick, and I'll get to my pick at the end, and I'm pretty sure you guys know where I'm going with this, but regardless of the pick, I still rate Kell Brook high. He may be past it, but like I said in the beginning of this video, he seems to be very motivated. He seems to be in great shape. He is the bigger guy. You know, he's a natural welterweight. He actually can fight at 154. He's gone up and fight at 154. He fought at 160. He is naturally the big guy. And I think this is going to be a challenge. I've been going back and watching Kell Brook's fights. You know, I think I seen his last fight against a DeLuca. Sarafa, I seen this fight. I watched the Spence fight. You know, I watched the Sean Porter fight. I've been going back and, you know, watching some of these older fights. Kell Brook is a really, really high level fighter. Very technical fighter. Now, I don't think he's as versatile as a Bud. I don't think he has all of the angles that Bud has. He's not on a level as far as being a switch hitter as Bud. You know, Bud is definitely more versatile overall. All right. But what Brook does, he's very good at it. What he's bringing, he has a beautiful 1-2. Beautiful 1-2. Great jab. Moves extremely well. Great timing. Good hand speed. Strong. Physically strong. He's not just a big welterweight. But he was able to handle Sean Porter's roughhousing. He was able to control that. Now, Kell Brook doesn't have the inside game. He likes to control the range. He can control the distance very well. All right, stay on the outside. He wants to be in that perfect range where he can land that right hand behind his jab. All right, you'll see little things where he'll time you as you're coming in. He could time the uppercut. He could throw the lead left hook, but he doesn't want to sit in the pocket all day. But he's good at protecting himself when he's there. When you get in and you fight and make it a dog fight like Errol Spence did, Brook knows how to cover himself and handle himself while he's in there. Like I said, he's not known for his inside game. He's not that. There are other fighters that are better at doing that, right? Terence Crawford being one of them. Bud can fight in the pocket, and he's comfortable there. He's also physically strong, but I'll get to Bud in a minute. But what Brook knows how to do is he knows how to clinch. He knows how to tie up. He's not going to let you get off on him while he's in a pocket with you. So if that's an advantage you have over him, he's going to lean on you. He's a bigger guy at welterweight. He's going to lean on you. He knows how to protect himself. He has good defense. You're not going to just have your way with him. You're not going to out wrestle him. So Kell Brook mainly wants to be on the outside. He likes to move. If he's coming forward, he can fight on the back foot. But if he's coming forward, he's great at that too. He can bring the pressure to you. All right? He can knock you out. He has a lot of knockouts. But he didn't always fight the top level welterweights. Yes, he got a win over Sean Porter. But as a welterweight, there's no real significant wins there, as far as him being a welterweight. And that's one thing a lot of people used to say. People used to argue with me about this when it came to Amir Khan. Even Devin Alexander back then, when they were supposed to fight a couple times back then. Fight never happened. This was when Devin was actually relevant. He was one of the better welterweights, but one of the better junior welterweights as well. All right, moving up. So we used to go back and forth with people that love Khan, the people that used to say, hey, Khan is ducking Brook. Well, people were like, well, Khan is fighting real fighters. Who's Brook fighting? So we used to talk and have these debates, but with all that being said, as far as the eye test, Brook has it. He has it, without a doubt. All right. Brook's major weakness is you dog it out with him long enough, and you got to really bring the fight to him. If you are a volume pressure fighter, you can break him. He can be broken. It's been proven. It's been proven a few times. It was proven in that Carson Jones first fight, which he got a gift win. Now, he was able to do better in the rematch and stop Carson Jones in the rematch, which was good. But that was the first time we really seen Brook under real pressure, vulnerable, okay? Then Spence did it. Spence was getting outboxed. He was getting outboxed. Spence was trying to box with him. And he was doing well. Listen, it wasn't like Spence was getting dominated on him. Let's not get crazy. But in those earlier rounds, Kell Brook was winning the fight. He was in control. But Spence turned it into a dogfight. All right? He smothered Brook. He didn't give him any room to breathe. And Spence is a dog, and he can punch himself. And he outworked Brook. And Brook was coming off of a loss. Brook was coming down from 160. Brook had half his face cracked open. So Spence dogged him out and was able to win that fight. Now he's coming back down, and now he's fighting Bud. Now let's talk a little bit about Terence Crawford. Crawford, like I said earlier, I think he is the most versatile fighter in the game. I think him and Canelo, as far as active fighters, I think they're two of the most versatile fighters. They can adjust to anything, any way they can fight. They can fight it out. But Bud is on a different level to me. I don't want to say at a different level, but Bud can fight as a, southpaw or orthodox. He can fight whatever way you want. Okay? Great inside game. Great at controlling the distance. Whatever way he chooses to fight, he's great at adjustments. All right? I don't think he's perfect at any, one specific thing, but he can do it all, and he can do everything well. Now, we've seen so many different sides of Terence Bud Crawford. I don't know which version we're going to get here in this fight. I'm interested in seeing which stance he's going to come out fighting as. Is he going to come out as a southpaw? Now, normally when Bud takes his fighter or opponent really seriously, he starts out as a southpaw. Normally he fights as an orthodox fighter, then he switches it as a southpaw at some point. But normally he starts as an orthodox fighter. All right? We've seen it plenty of times. I don't know if he's going to start as a southpaw fighting Kell Brook. Kell Brook actually can fight southpaws pretty well. I don't know, but I'm very curious to see. But regardless, this is what I think Bud needs to do. Whatever stance he comes out at, and I think he's a better southpaw than an orthodox fighter. That's my opinion. I don't know how everybody else feels about that, but I think he's better as a southpaw. But because he's fighting Brook, who has a great 1-2, and he has a great straight right hand, I don't know if he's going to come out as a southpaw or not. He might not come out as a southpaw because maybe he wants to avoid that punch. All right? But if you come out as a righty, as an orthodox fighter, you got to worry about Brook's jab as well. You get what I'm saying? You got to worry about that jab. So either way, there's some kind of danger there because Brook, even if you fight him as a righty, you still got to have to worry about the jab and a right hand that is going to come up behind that. And we saw against the Mean Machine in that fight, we saw that Velasquez was able to hit him with right hands throughout the fight. He even hurt him at one point. He was able to land against Crawford with that right hand and hurt him and drop him at one point, even though they didn't count the knockdown. He did drop him. So I feel like when Crawford is on his back foot, he's more defensively aware of what's going on. I think when he fought Victor Postal, Julio Diaz? Felix Diaz. When he fought Felix Diaz, a guy that always made fighters look bad before Bud fought him, Bud made it look easy. But Bud fought the same careful fight like he did against Victor Postal. He didn't engage too much. I think he needs to start out fighting Brook that same way. Because if he comes out aggressive, he's going to higher his chances of getting knocked out and catching the right hand. All right, now I don't know if Brook hits harder than Kavaliauskas, but I know Brook has better timing. He has better speed, more experience. I think he's just a better boxer overall. I think his IQ is just greater. If Kavaliauskas was able to time and land the right hands as Bud was bringing the pressure to him, I think Brook would be able to do the same if and better. So I think it would be smart if Crawford were to approach this cautiously. But as the fight goes on and we're starting to get into the second half of the fight, I think Bud should start bringing more pressure to Brook if he's looking to have a stoppage here. If he's looking to outperform Spence, which I think he is trying to do, he needs to hold off for the first half, wear Brook down, maybe try to outbox him some first, and then bring the pressure later in the second half of the fight where Brook is no longer, this is a guy that hasn't fought at 147 in so long, Hope the noise is not too loud, but hopefully later in that half, hopefully by that point, Brook would be a little bit more tired, more fatigued, worn out, stuff like that. All right, so I would think the best strategy for Bud is box early and then pressure later. All right, similar to what Spence did, but he's not Spence. He is at the end of the day a smaller guy, and Spence is high volume pressure. He's more relentless with it, whereas Bud, he has to work a lot harder to get his knockouts. And we know Bud has been stopping guys since he's moved up, but he has to work a lot harder to get those knockouts as, compared to what Spence was doing when he was coming up and knocking guys out and stopping guys. Spence was naturally the bigger guy. He had a bigger punch. You know what I'm saying? Now, when I say that too, also, I think Crawford's strength as a welterweight and his size as a welterweight overall is underrated. I think when people talk, they talk as if he's still a 135 fighter moving up. All right? He is the right size at the division. As a fully grown man, he is the right size at the division. He's not small. I mean, when you look at him and see him standing next to these other welterweights, he's not a small welterweight. All right? But how big do these other welterweights get in between fights? They're probably bigger than Crawford as far as weight is concerned. Brook, Spence, bigger guys. All right? So anyway, Brook, on the other hand, needs to fight his fight because he fights one way. He just needs to be able to, hopefully he has the stamina to fight at a high level in a later half of this fight. Keep Bud on the outside. Bud never fought a guy that moved as well as him. This is his I don't know if I said anything about this. This is Crawford's toughest fight. Definitely as a welterweight. Definitely as a welterweight. It's definitely his Crawford. As far as skill set overall, this is his greatest fight. Not only is he fighting a guy that's more talented than all the other welterweights he's faced, but he also has power and he has great boxing IQ. So Brook needs to fight his fight and nothing more, and move and keep it on the outside, because you best believe at some point in this fight, Crawford is going to try to turn it into a dogfight. I think he's going to do exactly what I said in this video. I think early he's going to box, and then later he's going to go for the stoppage. If he goes for the stoppage early, Crawford might get hurt. He might get clipped and knocked out. So he has to be very cautious and strategic in this fight. All right? I'm trying to think of anything else that I want to say here. I think the odds are very odd. If you're a gambler, I'm not a gambling man, but if you are a gambler, and you're not, I would never bet against, like one of my favorite fighters. But if you are one of those type of people, I would definitely throw a little bit of money in there for Kell Brook, because it's just a little bit too wide. You'll receive a lot more money back just throwing a little cash in there, picking Brook to win by KO, because I think Brook could win by KO if Crawford isn't careful. All right, if he fights the same fight like he did against Kavaliauskas, he might get hurt at some point. All right, I think that would be a very dangerous fight. I think his defense is much better when he's fighting on his back foot. All right. But yeah, I think my prediction is Crawford by decision. I don't think he is going to stop Kell Brook. I think he is going to win. I think it's going to be pretty clear that he wins. But my prediction is Bud by unanimous decision. But I think it's going to be a great fight. I think Bud is going to get hit with some really, really good shots. He might even get hurt or dropped in this fight. But I'm still, regardless of what happens, I'm picking Crawford to win this one by decision. All right, with that strategy, which is as far as pacing. I don't know if he's going to come out as a righty or lefty. He could switch whatever way he wants. He might come out as a lefty, switch back to righty. He might come out as a righty, switch to lefty. I don't know what he's going to do, but regardless, it's going to be dangerous either way he fights. Either way he fights, it's going to be dangerous there. But I do believe that he should definitely fight on his back foot and pick his shots, all right? Pop shot from the outside, all right? And then work in the later round, not even like 6th round. I'm talking about like 8th round. 8th round, start turning up the pressure on Brook some. And then even if you don't get the stoppage, at least make the later rounds more clear, because I think the earlier rounds are going to be very, very competitive. Very competitive. All right? And I expect Brook to pick up some rounds, especially early. People want to write him off. He's done. He's whatever. That's fine. That's fine. That's how people are going to look at it, because they haven't seen anything from Brook in a long time. And plus, he hasn't even fought at the weight division in a long time as well. So that's cool. But I always going to go in and look into the fights unless you look like, because I seen his last fight, and I know it wasn't to a high world beater or anything like that. But Brook still looked like Brook to me. Like, I still see the skills. I still see the skills. And when a guy is motivated coming into a fight, when somebody's really writing you off and the public don't believe that you have a shot, and the public believe that this is just a cash grab because your coach is not in your corner, I think that motivates you to be at your very best, the best at your current stage in your life. If you're coming in at your current best, even if it's just a slightly lower version of what you were at your very best before your first defeat, even if it's less than that, you're still pretty good, because I rated him that highly at one point. So I'm expecting this to be a great fight, a fight that I think Bud is really a dangerous fight for Bud. If Brook, whether it win or lose, if this is a good fight like I'm expecting it to be, and even if Crawford loses or Bud, whoever, if Brook loses, if Brook even were to lose this fight, but this fight was very, very competitive, I'm still interested in seeing Brook fight other top welterweights, man. This has always been the one welterweight outside of the PBC fighters that I've always wanted Crawford to face. If he can't get in there with some of the PBC guys, this is the fight I wanted to see. Man, I've been saying this for a while now. He should go after this fight, and I'm glad they're taking the fight. I wish it was promoted a little better, but again, it is what it is. All right, great fight. Make sure you tune in this Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern, main card, 7 p.m. Eastern, preliminary fights on ESPN Plus. Definitely tune in, and I will let you guys know if I will do live commentary. But regardless, I'll be doing a post-fight review. I'll see you then, and I got other content coming out on the way. All right, peace.